All right, we're gonna see if this works. This is the most ghetto thing ever. Okay, hang on. I gotta show you guys this. So I don't have a tripod. You know, what is it? What is it? What is it that Bear says? Best quality or good information, worst production quality, whatever. It's literally like, congratulations, this is my tripod, Belvita. I'm gonna like, you know, wedge my phone in the box and hopefully it stays upright. And got the word open, the scriptures, the best. I think one of the better translations, but I am biased because the people who I look up to read the scriptures, and it honestly is a great translation. And the reason I like the scriptures so much, maybe some of my Mormon friends will get it, because, you know, Mormonism, oh, don't look at that. Nah, that's my, no, nah. Okay, whatever. Don't matter, I don't got anything in that thing anyways, so. Yes. Bereshit, Genesis chapter 1, after I get off, here we go. Bereshit! So, in the beginning, hey look, Elohim, but that's just a word for God. It's actually not the name of God. Where is the name of God? What is God's name, you say? What is his name? Oh, look, it's right there. Right there. See that? Yod, He, Vav, He, Yahweh, Yahovah, Yehuda, you know, or not Yehuda, or Yahuwah, however you want to say it, Jehovah. Yeah, right there. All right, let me see if I can find Proverbs again. Actually, let me get this on the ghetto mount. Gosh, it's early. Okay, I literally, you see there's the box. I literally just woke up. Okay, no, that's a lie. I've been up, but I've just mustered up the chutzpah, or whatever you want to say, to get up and do this. When I was talking with my wife about what I wanted to do specifically with this channel, I said I wanted to read the Word, and you're like, yes, I am going to start in Genesis at some point, but right now I'm going to do Proverbs because we try to read Proverbs every day. I've been terrible at doing Proverbs every day because I am a sinful man and I don't read the Word as much as I should. And that kind of shows because I just had it open and now I'm flipping through Proverbs, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Daniel, Psalms. Yeah, here we are. Proverbs, right before Job. I am not yet as well versed as I should be. Shame on me. I know it's my responsibility to be more better versed, and I know that my wife was like, your lighting quality last night was not great, and I was just like, it's a truck, what do you want? I got so I've already read this with my wife this morning. It's the first thing I did was I woke up, I watched social media, which I probably shouldn't because it just but you know, I just kind of peeked up and saw what was going on in the world, and then I decided I was going to pray, and so I prayed to the Father, and there will be times I pray on here, but I don't need to do that now because I've already lifted my voice up a couple times this morning, personally, and then with my wife, and I think it's just kind of, I don't say it's extra because we should always be speaking to the Father, but I don't feel it right now, and so I'm not going to. But then I read Proverbs with my wife, who, yeah, bless her, she had a long day yesterday. She spent all day at doing her reserve training because she's a reservist now. We're not active anymore. Like, oh yeah, we no, she's not active anymore. she decided that she wanted to go into the reserve. She still wanted to be able to serve her country, but she decided that family life was more important to her. Raising our children up was more important to her, so she made the decision, and that's why we're kind of on the path that we're on. But she had a long day. She did her reserve thing all day, which basically she, if you've been a reservist or you know how the military goes, it's a whole lot of nothing, but you gotta be there. And it's just sapping. And then, she had to drive all the way back to where we live from where she was, because it's, a distance, with the kids, by herself, and she's not really comfortable driving at night. She doesn't like it, so she had to kind of hurry up and get there before the sunset. And then she spent hours doing schoolwork, because she's also going to college. So, yeah, bless her. That she was willing to be up and read with me this morning. So I'm going to read all of it, and then I'm going to come back and have some thoughts. I already had some thoughts with my wife, and it was kind of profound, and so I'm not going to, wax too long in this video. But Proverbs 15th, because today is the 15th. Cool story. There's a proverb for every day of the month. It's kind of like Yah wants us to read it continually, because there's wisdom in all these words. Weird. All right. A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up displeasure. The tongue of the wise makes knowledge good, but the mouth of fools pours out foolishness. In the eyes of Yahweh the eyes of Yahweh are in every place, watching the evil and the good. A healing tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness in it crushes the spirit. A fool despises his father's discipline, but he who heeds reproof is clever. The household of the righteous is a great treasure, but in the income of the wrong is trouble. The lips of the wise scatter knowledge, but the heart of the fool is not so. The slaughtering of the wrong ones is an abomination to Yahweh, but the prayer of his strength is his delight. The way of the wrong one is an abomination to Yahweh, but he loves him who pursues righteousness. Discipline is grievous to him who forsakes the way. He who hates reproof dies. Sheol and destruction are before Yahweh. How much more the hearts of the sons of men? A scoffer does not love his reprover, nor does he go to the wise. A glad heart makes good a face, but by sorrow of heart the spirit is stricken. The heart of the understanding one seeks knowledge, but the mouth of the fools feed on folly. All the days of the afflicted are evil, but gladness of the heart is a continual feast. Better is a little with the fear of Yahweh than great treasure with trouble. Better is a meal of vegetables where love is than a fatted calf with hatred. But he who is patient appeases strife. The way of the lazy one is like a hedge of thorns, but the way of the straight is a highway. A wise son makes a father glad, but a foolish man despises his mother. Folly is joy to one lacking heart, but a man of understanding walks straight. Without counsel, plans go wrong, but by great counselors they are established. A man has joy by the answer of his mouth, and how good is a word spoken in its season. And how good is a word spoken in its season. The path of life is upward for the wise, to turn away from Sheol below. Tongue twist there. Yahweh tears down the house of the proud, and he sets up the boundary of the widow. Evil thoughts are an abomination to Yahweh, but pleasant words are clean. He who is greedy for gain troubles his own house, but he who hates bribes lives. The heart of the righteous ponders how to answer, but the mouth of the wrong pours out evil. Yahweh is far from the wrong ones, but he hears the prayer of the righteous. The light of the eyes rejoice, the heart a good report gives marrow to the bones. A good report gives marrow to the bones. And an ear that hears the reproof of life does dwell among the wise. He who ignores discipline hates himself, but he who listens to reproof gets understanding. The fear of Yahweh is the discipline of wisdom, and before esteem is humility. So that was Proverbs 15. Excuse me, I'm gonna caffeinate. I don't do coffee. I know. I guess that's my Mormon. It's my Mormonism. I don't do coffee. I don't like the taste. You know what? The word of wisdom, I got some thoughts on that, but just cheers. Caffeine. I know. We all have our vices. Unfortunately for me, I need caffeine to to function. At least this early in the morning. I know. Too much caffeine and your heart explodes. Well, yeah. Not enough caffeine and you drive off the road. You know, like what you want to say there. But let me go back to the word. I was telling my wife I'm really beginning to not believe in coincidences. You know, I'm not a narcissist to believe that, oh, everything is for me, and like, you know, but I do believe that there is wisdom in Yah, and that he knows what we're going through, and so he puts things in our way for us to see. The last time I read Proverbs was Proverbs 2 this month, which tells you pretty much how bad I am at opening the word on my own. Like unfortunately, most of my word that I get is by listening to others, and I know. Reprove, right? Admonish. If you know what that's from. Stick your own nose in your own Bible and read your own word, and do not rely on others for your understanding. I get that. And I'm going to be better about it. And so when I opened my word this morning and I said, okay, Proverbs 15, let's go. This proverb basically spoke to me in so many ways, especially because of this week and what happened with Charlie Kirk, and just the anger and the hatred and the vitriol that's been going through the nation, and 100% through me. A harsh word stirs up displeasure. I was saying very harsh things in private to my wife, not to her, but just about the situation. And something happened. I was reading it the first time, and she said, wait, can you say that again? When I read a verse. And so I was like, okay. And I went back and I reread it, and it hit me because I literally just kind of glazed over it the first time. But verse 8, the slaughtering of the wrong ones is an abomination to Yahweh. I had to think about that for a second. What do you mean, the slaughtering of the wrong ones? I thought we're supposed to get rid of evil. You know, and I thought about it, and I was like, wow. And it hit me, you know, it hit me with a lot of conviction and force. And I was reminded about the blessing I gave to my wife earlier this week when Yah spoke to me, and he said, it's not yours. Vengeance is not yours. Not in this case. It's not yours. We're not supposed to slaughter those who are evil. You know, and the word slaughtering here in the scriptures, I know in the King James it says something different. It says the sacrifice or whatever. But the slaughtering of the wrong ones is an abomination to Yahweh. I used the words with my wife and with my friend. I wanted to deal with these people like a butcher deals with cattle. Cold and uncaring, like a slaughter. And I realized that Yah said that's not for you. And that, yes, we fight evil. We fight evil on so many levels. I fight it daily. My Facebook tries to throw me into lust daily. You know, I'm not immune from that. And I have to try really hard. And I've gotten, this week I've been very sensitive about it, but there have been weeks in the past where I have slipped and I've fallen. You know, I'm not above to admit that on here to anyone. You know, we all have our weaknesses. I have rage at times. You know, and I've learned that when I speak in rage, it's not good. Even though I think it's righteous fury, we have to really listen to what Yah says. And he uses the word abomination. Abomination, he uses that word for so many things. Abomination, things that aren't good to him. He uses the same word abomination for the sacrificing of children. So he tells us here that the slaughtering of the wrong ones is an abomination to Yahweh. We're not supposed to slaughter our enemies. Yeshua said we're supposed to pray for them. Pray for them. Bless them that curse you. Pray for those who use you and do all sorts of things to you. Mercy. So while I may be angry with what happened this week and what the implications of that are, these demons, because they are demons, they've got demons in them at least. They've allowed themselves to be co-opted by the enemy and to rejoice, and I will take a strong stance against that. I mean, you know, but we're not supposed to want to do evil things because they're evil. Yah will deal with them in his own time. Yah will deal with them in his way. And yes, sin requires death. But that's why we have Messiah, who gave himself so that we don't have to die, that anyone, even the man who killed Charlie, even he, in his darkness, can repent, to shuv, to turn, and find Christ, if he wants. And while there is judgment, there's also mercy. God bless my wife for making me read that again, because I skimmed over it the first time. It's not ours. We are to be a beacon and a light. We are to speak truth. We are to provide the word to those who don't understand or know. And we are to have infinite mercy on those who hate us. You know, I was listening to one of those reels, and it was that Orthodox guy. I don't know his name. I've seen him around. He's got like, he does, I don't know who, I'm terrible. I don't know who this guy is, but he speaks on Christian matters, and I think he's an Orthodox
Eastern Orthodox guy, and he was talking about martyrdom, and that there's going to be martyrdom again. And we know this, you know, there are seasons and times, and we know that martyrdom happens in the end times. And I had to think about it deeply. I had to think about it, about what does it mean to pick up your cross and to follow him. And you know, there's a part of me that's like, oh, the warrior ethos, you know, gotta be strong, gotta have my gun, gotta have my gear, gotta have my plate carrier, gotta do this, gotta do that. And it's hypocrisy. Like, I'm not advocating for weakness. Be strong, be meek, have your hand upon the sword, be authoritative in your area and in your family, and be willing to defend. For the word is life. And all the things that we're commanded to do is to basically forward that. But we also have to understand that sometimes Yah requires of us sacrifice. He requires of us to prove our faith, even if that means that road leads to death, and not a glorified death, not a you know, charging through the gates of hell, bullets flying death, but sometimes that death is inglorious. Sometimes that death is on a beach, held down by terrorists and having your neck cut, but refusing to deny the faith, refusing to deny Christ. And so, you know, it was a deep thought. It's, you know, and I probably will flesh it out better at some point, but you know, it dawns on me that there's so much treasure here. You know, better a little with the fear of Yahweh than great treasure with trouble. Better to be simple and not have a lot of wealth with God than to be rich and be full of sin. You know, better is a meal of vegetables where love is. Vegetables. Who likes to eat their vegetables? Not me. I mean, there's some vegetables I like, but I'd rather have the fatted calf. But it's better to have a simple life than to have everything and have hatred. A man of wrath stirs up strife. A man of wrath stirs up strife. That was me earlier this week. I was wrathful. I was angry. I was screaming. And we don't need strife. We need peace. We need his peace. You know, we need to bring the kingdom, and the kingdom is peace. It's shalom. Peace. Peace on earth. Anyways, that's my thoughts. I'm going to try to do... No, I'm not going to try. I'm going to do Proverbs every day. I'm going to make these videos and share my thoughts. Shalom, shalom.